to our parents and families joining us today, and welcome again to the RAM Fam. My name is Lexie McCarthy, and I serve as the Director of Parent and Family Relations at Westchester University. I have served in this role since the office's inception in 2019 and have worked to improve the parent and family experience at Westchester ever since. This session is one in a series that we'll be doing throughout the summer to provide insight into the Westchester experience from Westchester experts and members of our RAM Fam Advisory Council, who are parents and family members just like you. Today's session focuses on supporting student athletes at Westchester. First, I would like to ask my panelists to introduce themselves. Please note I've also asked them to share their favorite thing about Westchester. We'll start with Robin and then move to Kelly.
Hi there, my name is Robin Catalano. I am a mom of 2 students at Westchester University. My daughter Dominique is a senior field hockey player, and my son Max is not an athlete, but he will be a junior. My favorite things about Westchester is the diversity and the amount of clubs and things that the students can get involved in.
Thanks, Robin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelli Milliner. I'm the Associate Athletics Director at Westchester. I've been here since 2007, so quite some time. And my favorite thing about Westchester is that probably since I started, it's really felt like a family. Everybody supports each other, and we have an even smaller family in athletics. And we often talk about how welcome to the family when you get here. So we'll probably mention that a couple times.
Great, thanks, Kelly, and thank you both for introducing yourselves. Let's get started with some questions. Kelly, can you tell us more about your office and how the athletics department supports Westchester athletes and partners with parents and families?
Sure. So if you are coming in as an athlete, you probably know that we are a rather large department. We've got 24 sports, and we play in a Division II, pretty tough Division II schedule. So we have a lot of staff and support staff who run events, seems like every day. So we have things going on constantly. That's on the field. We obviously support our students on the field. We make sure they have a good experience and that the games are exciting, and that's part of the athletes have to take a role in that, of course. But off the field, we do offer lots of support. We have different programs for their leadership skills. We have a program called Student Athlete Success, and that really is focusing on professional development. So we work with the Career Center a lot, personal development. We'll run different programs with different offices across student affairs, really, to just kind of focus on things off the field. We have a strong focus on academics. So we have a mentoring program where we have about 100 to 120 student athletes in that program. It's really just kind of extra help and extra assistance. So we have mentors that meet with the students once a week to go over things, go over their classes, if they're having any issues, trying to help them with study skills and things like that. We have strong relationships with Counseling Center. So we work with one of the counselors specifically with our students. She runs programs and has some different sessions with our teams if they need them. She does often come to some games too when she can, which is great. So a lot of support there. We also have a nutrition program. We work with the Department of Nutrition, and they have fueling stations for some of our teams, different times of the year, but also just a lot of nutrition education, things like that, where they might work with teams, or we'll have a program and just it's open to any athlete, and they can come and learn about, how do you eat for your sport, things like that. And we do really are open anytime for the students to come in and talk about whatever's on their mind, so they can kind of come in and work with us if they have issues with getting to class and, I'm always late and I can't figure it out. We help them. So we do work with our students off the field, probably more than on the field, at least from my perspective.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Robin, can you talk about the conversations you have with your student about being a student athlete?
Conversations that I've had with my student, one of the main ones is you might have been the MVP at home. You might have been his 4-year starter, but you might not even start or travel your first year in college. It's a different game. It's a different strategy. But I try to tell her that her time will come. It did come. So work hard in practice. That's one of the things I tell her. I tell her arrive to practice early. If you have a 3 p.m. start time, you should be there at 2:15, no later than 2:30. Anything after that, you're probably considered late, and you don't want to make that kind of impression on your coach. I tell her to stay out of team drama or your teammates' drama, and be there for everyone on the team. If you have a schedule conflict and you find out your practice times, immediately notify your coach. Look for alternatives, and if there isn't one, please notify the coach. If you are traveling, you need to email your professor ahead of time. The coach has a form that they usually sign for you to take to give to the professor, but you need to email the professor in advance, copy your coach on the email so that there is no problems with the email. One of the things that I say to both my kids is nothing good happens after midnight. So as athletes, normally you arrive early in the dorm in the fall semester, and you might be there over breaks when other students aren't there. We do have security officers that roam the buildings at night, and you could quite possibly get a noise violation if it's too loud. So that has to be something taken into consideration. If you do get a violation of any kind, your first call should be to your parent or guardian. Your second call should be to your coach. You don't want your coach to find out from a team member, a third party, or from another coach. So be upfront with your coach. I also gave the advice of do not limit your friend group to your teammates. New friends come and go, new friends come to home games and even away games. And I saw that with my daughter's playoff game where they won the national championship last year. And friends who were non-teammates who she met during her classes drove to her playoff game to support her. There's a lot of clubs that you can belong to. And I know you're going to say, well, you know, being an athlete takes up a lot of time. Yes, it does, but clubs are understanding. So if you already have a major or there's something that you're interested in, you need to join that club, let them know you're an athlete, and they will make accommodations for you. So if you're away at a game or you have practice, they will make accommodations for you. The student athletes have something called SAC, which is the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and they advocate for their team. All athletes, there's a lot of community service, leadership. It's good for your resume as well. So that's something that your athlete may want to volunteer for to represent your team. There is always a problem with organization, whether you're an athlete or not athlete, but an athlete especially. So my suggestion that both my children use is an organizer or a date book, a passion planner, depending on how detailed you want to get. Schedule yourself out for the week. I tell her, schedule your tests, your practices, your due dates, even schedule in social time, because you have to make sure that your life is really well-rounded and you're not missing anything that's important. For all athletes and non-athletes, the LARC offers tutoring. Schedule early so you are not closed out. They try not to, but usually all the required gen ed, math, English, and science classes do have tutors or a writing lab. And they also have for those prerequisites to get into the gen ed. So I suggest that that's something both my kids tutor and both my kids take tutoring. As a parent or guardian, one thing that I would suggest is keep healthy snacks and cases of water in their room. Water is not super expensive, but athletes don't have a lot of time, and sometimes trying to study for an exam, practice and everything, they might miss a meal, they might become hungry. You don't want them to live at the vending machine. So I think that's kind of important. If you can afford a 3 or 4 inch mattress topper or mattress pad, I would probably go for that. The beds are only 8 inches thick, and it just feels so good when they lie down in there from these practices and games. It's awesome. Both my kids have them. They're on their 3rd year with them. So I bought full size, so in case they moved off campus and they had a larger bed, it only stuck over a couple inches and it didn't really hinder them from freshman year. And one other thing that I might say is a lot of times your upperclassmen may be giving your child a ride to practices. The bus sometimes, depending on certain times, might take a long time. Please understand that yes, they might be going to practice. They might have taken a different route. They usually do pay for their own gas. So what I did is occasionally bought a $5 gift card to a Wawa or give them gas. I think that that's something that people don't realize, but it actually makes for a really good relationship with the upperclassmen. And at times I know that people have baked cookies for them instead of doing that. Whatever you can do, just know that you're a team and to support your team.
Thanks so much, Robin. That was really helpful for that Ram Fam insight. Kelli, back to you. How can parents and families best support their student athletes?
So I think a great example is that Robin has obviously educated herself on what's going on in the department. I think that that's, it's not something that's difficult to do. I think, all parents are probably pretty used to knowing what's going on in school and trying to keep up to date with stuff. On our website does have a lot of information about some of the stuff I talked about before. And then talking to the coaches. I mean, our parents and our coaches have much closer relationship than I do with the parents. They're probably their first, into the department somehow, that's who they're talking to for the most part to get all the information, but know what's going on campus. I would say also ask your student how they're doing. And then if hey, I know that there is help for you in the counseling center. If you ask how they're doing and say, hey, well, why don't you give them a call? Or, I heard that there's a support group. We have a support group for student athletes specifically. Maybe you want to go in and just talk about what's going on. So I think that, constant communication. I know that parents and students talk to each other a lot. And when I was a student athlete, my dad, his main he wanted to know what the score was and how'd I do. That was kind of a big, conversation starter. But then, we got into other things too. And I think that that's a way to keep tabs on what's going on and just kind of let them know, here's the resources. I've been in touch. I've been figuring it out. If maybe the student's too stressed or has a lot of homework or, they've been traveling all weekend and they have a test on Monday and, they don't know, I don't know what to do about X, Y, Z. And, maybe the parents, well, hey, I found out, I saw this on the website. Why don't you check it out? So communication, education, and just seeing how they are.
That's great. Thanks, Kelli. Finally, I have a question for both of you. What is your parting piece of advice for incoming families with student athletes? We'll start with Robin, and then we'll go to Kelli.
I think my main advice for parents and guardians of incoming student athletes is let them have fun. They'll put enough pressure on themselves to succeed academically and in their sport that having pressure from parents can actually weigh them down and hurt their situation. Be upbeat. If things are negative, try to put a positive spin. Let them vent. Don't take action. Let them be their own advocate. Encourage them to be their own advocate in both school and sports and give them positive ways to handle situations in which they're unhappy or negative. I think that's the most important thing as a parent for me.
Thanks, Robin.
And for me, it's kind of along the same lines, is really trust them. Let them know the resources, but then let them go on their own to find out the answers they need. I definitely find that if the students are relying too much on parents or coaches, for that matter, to maybe help them with their problems, and they're not really figuring it out on their own, then they just aren't really kind of accepting what the answer is. They're going to make mistakes, and I think it's in order for, our job, what I see as my job is to help prepare them to be good people. To they're going to graduate. They're not going to be athletes for the rest of their lives, at least competitively. So that's part of it. So we always tell the students to be advocates for themselves with their professors, with their, coaches. And I think it's important. So I would say trust your students. I know it's probably hard. My kids are little, but I think, let them go a little bit.
That was great. Thank you both. As we conclude our panel, I want to thank you for watching and thank our panelists for their time, their wisdom, and their insight. The resources represented here are just a small sampling of our Westchester University offerings designed to serve you and your students. If you have additional questions or concerns, please feel free to connect with the Office of Parent and Family Relations via email at parentfamilyrelations@wcupa.edu. You'll also find additional contact information for athletics on the following slide. We welcome, encourage your engagement, partnership, and Ram pride. Rams up, everyone.